Hey everyone, how you all doing? I hope you've all had a good day. Because today, we're finally talking about someone that brings me very little joy to talk about. It is the Nintendrone himself, Harmon Smith, and I found some very fitting gameplay in Black Ops 3. And depending on how I feel, I thought I would give you something special. We have two videos that he has posted about Starfield. They're only 5 minutes long, and I think we can have a bit of fun with that. Depending on how much he repeats himself, I may cut some of that down. But don't you worry, he starts it off strong. I won't spoil it, but it will truly rot your brain. How much and how far he will go to say stupid shit. It truly surprises me that people on this planet exist. I don't know how he exists, how he survives, how he functions, but he somehow does it. Now, let's get started with this video, so we can make fun of Harmon for his absolutely garbage takes.
I'm not gonna bother watching the Starfield trailer. I don't care. I've seen enough. I've seen the pattern.
I told you this video was going to start off strong. Let's see if he can find a viable reason, a good reason, to criticize Starfield. It would be a very good surprise if he had a good reason to criticize the game. I mean, there are some reasons to criticize the game. Lip syncing still looks ass. And I find it weird that you do not go out of your way to watch this, to better educate yourself, and find actual problems to criticize. It would make your life a lot easier instead of making up shit like you normally do.
And I know how this goes every single time. Oh, is Starfield gonna be Game of the Year? Is this gonna be Bethesda's next Skyrim? Is this Fallout in space? Is this what No Man's Sky was going to be?
I can't lie to myself when I say the visual lift up that they gave to the game within a year of just adding no content and constantly fixing the game is an absolute W, and the way that they've described and changed public perception of the game is truly impressive. Seeing my friend group go from oh shit, it's Fallout in space, or a budget Elite Dangerous, to holy shit, this game actually does interest me, is pretty cool to see. They really hit it out the park by giving us that entire direct and just giving us everything and showing us all these improvements from gunplay to even ship combat looks even better. And it really sells us to the game may be good on launch. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But it's Todd, so we should never really trust him. And I do have faith that this will be the next Skyrim. As you said, is it the next Skyrim? I do believe somewhat it could be. If they release the creation kit 2 weeks after launch, when the hype is still around the game, they will be able to foster that community to be like Skyrim's. The one problem with a game like Fallout 4, right, that got its creation kit rather early on in its life, it was not able to get as many engine innovations as Skyrim has over the years, and I know Fallout 4 is still a much younger game than Skyrim, but that right there is one of the biggest things that contributes to a game, is its engine innovations and what new features modders can add to that engine. For example, with Skyrim, they added multiplayer, they added new combat. Right now, I'm working on new combat. Stuff like that goes a really long way to keeping a game alive. I'm gonna stop myself because I'm gonna start rambling a bit more, but Harmon, I don't see a Nintendo game with this same amount of community around modding behind it. Most of the communities I've seen from Nintendo are preservation communities that get their asses kicked for no reason at all.
I called it from the trailer, right? Like when they first showed off the gameplay trailer, I called this shit immediately. It looked like garbage. It looked unoriginal. It didn't have anything going for it. And my opinion is unchanged. Of course, I'm not going to watch the nude footage because that's probably cherry picked.
Oh my god, it's not like every company cherry picks gameplay for their showcases. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom did it. This point is terrible. I might go bite a 12 gauge right now, because that would bring me more joy than listening to you talk. I don't know why I come back to you. There's just something so special about you that I can't find from any other fanboy.
I've heard a lot of things about it that are already raising red flags, like the term procedurally generated. After No Man's Sky, that should be.
Do none of you people know this? Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim, Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4 were all procedurally generated, handcrafted after that. And with something like Starfield, they're following the same design, just doing it with tile sets. Elite Dangerous, Star Citizen, and No Man's Sky kind of do the same thing. It's not taboo to use procedural generation for a lot of games. It's the most easiest way to effectively make what you want to do. I've done it before. Can you guess what one of the biggest strengths of the creation kit is? Even though the average modder does not have access to it. Bethesda's procedural generation tech is really good. If we got access to that with Starfield, it's gonna hit a whole new level of customization of worlds and maps that we've never had before in their games. So I'll chuck this little tidbit in for everyone else that may not know about Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine doesn't have persistencing, there we go, I said it right, and procedural generation down. It is the one thing the engine cannot do properly. Even though Unreal Engine can still do it, it just can't do it to the same effectiveness as something that is built around that stuff.
Be like a major red flag. Like, why isn't everything handcrafted? Why are we going to different planets and having them procedurally generated? Right? Where are the unique life forms? Where's the creativity?
Not like I just described how hard the process is to handcraft everything on 1,000 planets. I mean, look at Elite Dangerous. They have, what is it, like 3.3 billion planets? And they use the exact same method of tile sets. It's something that cannot be done within a reasonable amount of time for a reasonable budget. It is incredibly hard to do.
Where's the alien civilizations? Where's the plot? How is this going to work? Like it just feels as if nothing they do here is really going to be like resonate with players at all. It's just going to be another No Man's Sky. And the way it's looking now, it has the same kind of like hype cycle, right? It has the same kind of publicity. Is that like, oh man, it's gonna be so cool? Like,
honestly, it would be kind of funny to see them do exactly what Star Citizen set out to do, but much faster and in much less time. I mean, that might as well be what they're doing, so I'm gonna laugh about that if the game comes out in a good polished state.
Being in your spaceship and flying around this big universe with like, infinite planets. Like they didn't just make a game, they made an entire universe. Like I'm sorry, Todd Howard is God. God Howard. They're calling him now. It's a complete joke. And I have to wonder just how many people are buying into this. Because I think Starfield has some of the lowest like enthusiasm for any major AAA release.
I would have agreed with you that it had no enthusiasm behind it, until that Starfield Direct. Like I've said, it really changed public perception on how the game should be perceived going forward. It was a very big change to really sell the game to us, and they did it absolutely perfectly. But I wouldn't expect you to know that, because you didn't watch the Direct, so I'm just gonna chalk it up to someone's very mad and doesn't like that. No one's talking about Tears of the Kingdom right now.
Think that Starfield, No Man's Sky 2 is really going to hash it against Tears of the Kingdom. Like, Tears of the Kingdom is part of an established brand. It's iconic. It's already high quality. It has hundreds of hours of content. Like, what exactly is Starfield going to do?
Oh my god, not like you can use that same analogy for Starfield. It's part of an established brand. It's a Bethesda game. What a shocker. We know it's going to have hundreds of thousands of hours of content. And what's this? It's made by a company that's known for pushing above average to high quality content? What a shocker.
Do that Tears of the Kingdom doesn't do better. The only thing I can think of is that it's technically a new IP. And that's something that like these people kind of have a big boner for, is just like, oh, it's a new IP, so let's give it the praise and attention it deserves.
That's more of a no shit, Sherlock. Of course people are going to hype up a new game or talk about it. It's how it works, it's how it goes. The only thing you really need to keep in mind is the company's track record for releasing good products. I mean, they're not really too good, but they seem to be taking a lot of extra care with this. But you won't catch me pre-ordering or buying on day one until I have a look at some reviews about the game. Who knows, maybe that will change.
Right? And I don't know how much I disagree with the notion, because yeah, I do kind of dislike the idea that we see the same kind of games win Game of the Year every year. Breath of the Wild already won once. Do we need like Tears of the Kingdom, the sequel, to like win Game of the Year again, to let us all know that the game is good? Like, I would rather like let another game take the spotlight, like hypothetically, like Pikmin 4, right? Like that.
Don't lie, Harmon, you know full well you would hate the concept of another game winning Game of the Year. I know full well you must hate it. Nothing would give you a hard-on more than Tears of the Kingdom winning it. You've said it yourself.
That's something, I don't know. Like there are things to talk about when it comes to this situation, right? Like, I don't think Starfield is it though. Like, that's the thing, is that like Starfield hasn't shown anything off that I would be excited by. I could buy it, like pre-order it on my high-end gaming.
Maybe if you watch the direct, you would be able to see something of interest. It's that simple. For some reason, you can't get that through your head. Maybe if you actually took the time and spent 40 minutes to watch that direct, you may find something that is interesting to you. That is it for the first video. Now we're gonna move on to the second video, and I can assure you, it does not get better. I don't think it ever will with Harmon.
I was thinking a little bit about Starfield and why it's bothering me.
Finally, maybe he actually watched the direct instead of spouting random shit.
I haven't quite been able to put a nail on it yet, but I have managed to find something to point out, something to talk about, something that I don't think anybody has really talked about.
It took you 2 days to release a second video talking about Starfield. I think it's the only thing on your mind right now. I think, without a doubt, you have watched the direct. You're just lying to us. It wouldn't surprise me. Everyone, place your bets to see if he can come up with a good reason to criticize the game. I can. I'm sure he can't.
Yeah, because right now we're still in the middle of the hype phase. We have people who think Starfield can outdo Tears of the Kingdom and Nintendo and become like the game of the year. And of course, it's not going to happen. Tears of the Kingdom is going to be the game that is remembered as being one of the best open world games ever made and one of the best games Nintendo has ever put out, while Starfield is just going to be another line of failures in...
Didn't you say earlier, in your last video, that Starfield should take that place because Zelda is too good for it and will automatically get it? So what has changed since that last video that made you change that perception?
Another entry in the long line of failures from Bethesda, right? No matter how many awards it gets, no matter how much it sells, no matter how much people claim to love it, at the end of the day, Starfield is just going to be another Fallout 3, another Skyrim.
So you're telling me, in some imaginary schizo world that you made up, a game that is more successful financially, commercially, and many other things that contribute to a successful game, is somehow still not better than Tears of the Kingdom? You know this is a personal choice, right, to believe what you think is better, and you can express that, but it does not mean you are smart. You have single-handedly just shown everyone that you lack the mental capacity to figure out business strategy, to just tell yourself that a game that you enjoy is better, and it's fine to believe that, but saying through business and through many other means of being able to tell if a game is far more successful, it is good to know that you lack a frontal lobe to comprehend what is financially successful and isn't, because at the end of the day, both will more than likely be financially successful.
Another Fallout 4, right? It's going to be the same thing we've seen over and over again. And obviously, Starfield can't compete with Zelda, right? It's not even close.
I find it funny that we are nearly, a minute into your video, maybe even more, around 2, and you still haven't bring up that point that proves that this game is bad, or proves that it's not going to succeed. You've only said many times, it cannot compete. That is not your reason, and it's a really dogshit reason because you have no proof.
And, I was thinking a little bit about how Starfield has procedurally generated maps, right? It has like a handful of handcrafted areas for quests and stuff like that. And then you have those big, expansive No Man's Sky planets. And I was thinking how underwhelming that is. Like, how much better it would be if each individual planet was completely handcrafted with unique environments.
Is that your point? Is that it? I've already told you how that's virtually impossible. It would take upwards of 20 years to do even 100. You know how hard that is? And how much storage it would need to do that? There's a reason why they use procedural generation. It takes up far less space on the system. Look at Red Dead Redemption. That was procedural, then entirely handcrafted over. And look how fucking big that game is. I mean, Call of Duty will still trump it in size, but that's Call of Duty. They just bloat their games for no reason.
And ecosystems and biological life forms. Like, what a cool game it would be to explore a strange alien world in this RPG setting and like completely open-ended, being able to go wherever you want and explore and like have all these crazy adventures. Like, if only somebody would make a game like...
Oh my god. Did you just laugh at the end? I think you know how stupid that sounds. What is Elite Dangerous? What is Star Citizen? What is No Man's Sky? What is fucking Starfield? What is Spaceborne? What are all these games that have done it? One was even done by an individual. That should tell you. It has been done. You're just asking too much.
Like that. And it kind of dawned on me, that there is a game like that. There is a game where you can explore a giant sci-fi environment, completely non-linearly, and just get into all these crazy adventures in a handcrafted environment that's very unique, very distinct, nothing else like it in the entire industry.
Who's gonna tell him? It probably used procedural generation to help build environments in that world. Oh my god. He has no fucking clue what he's talking about. And I'm still surprised he doesn't know what he's on about. A little bit of research would have taken you a long way.
And it came out in 2015. I am, of course, talking about Xenoblade Chronicles X, a game that is still not available on Switch, by the way. It's still a Wii U exclusive, right? From Nintendo, developed by Monolith Soft. Xenoblade Chronicles X...
You're a fucking dumbass. I did 2 seconds of research on my phone, and guess what it said? It used procedural generation. To think a map that big didn't use it, it wouldn't even be able to run on the Wii. It would be too big in size. You are a fucking dumbass.
In 2015, did a more impressive Starfield on the Wii U than what Bethesda is doing here. Because I don't think most people really appreciate the fact that Xenoblade Chronicles X is not procedurally generated. Like, it has entire, these...
What do you think Starfield is doing? It's procedural generation and then handcrafted over. That is how landscaping works in games. It is the most common technique to build a bunch of land and then refine it and make it look pretty, natural, or whatever it wants to be for that game setting. It is that easy. There are only a few games that don't use procedural generation. For example, I'll give you a niche one. Command & Conquer, Kane's Wrath, or Tiberium Wars does not use it. Call of Duty does not use it, to my knowledge. And many linear games do not use it as it's not necessary, as there's no point in building large areas that you can't just handcraft and save time with.
It has caves, it has varied ecosystems, it has things to find, things to explore, all these quests, all these things to do, hundreds of hours of content.
Wow, it's almost like that's handcrafted content. Oh my god, no way. I didn't know that. Did you know that?
Right. Now, you can argue that, there are issues with the game and the general structure and stuff like that, particularly with the writing. There are things to criticize about Xenoblade Chronicles X, but I don't think there is any denying that when it comes to exploring a strange alien landscape, nothing even comes close. Nothing.
Honestly, I can't think of any games, since I've got nothing to compare it with that would be as alien. I've not looked at any screenshots of the game, besides 2 of them to see if it's actually done handcrafted, but yeah, it's all been handcrafted over. Nothing too special. Since I will never play the game, I guess I will never know.
The industry hasn't even come close to managing what Xenoblade Chronicles X has accomplished. And Starfield is just going to be another Mass Effect. It's going to be a boring, uninspired, generic Star Trek inspired knockoff product that we've seen billions of times.
Hear me out, boys, off topic. I would give 1 million doubloons to the nearest company or individual that could make a Star Wars RPG where you can play as any race, be a Sith or Jedi, and do whatever the fuck you want, use guns, sneak around, steal shit, and do all that in the Star Wars universe. Why isn't that a thing? That seems like such a good concept. That's my $1 million idea. I'm taking that to a company and I'm going to become a rich man. Fuck the rest of you. Fuck content creation. If only the KOTOR remake didn't fall through. What a shame that was. Or wasn't being made for a modern audience, bro. When I heard that, I kinda cried a little. That brought me absolutely no joy.
Before. The most interesting thing people are talking about is that, oh man, is this set in the future of Fallout? And before the Elder Scrolls? Which... I don't know exactly how that works.
I mean, hey, it's a pretty cool concept, good food for thought, but even then, it's not true. I think they've already said themselves that none of these universes that they make are related to each other at all. They may do crossover hints, but that's it.
But, people are, arguing about, timeline stuff and, ooh, is this going to be the beginning of a new franchise? It's not, okay? Bethesda's on the way out. They can't really compete. They're a declining studio.
I would love to see your proof. Why are they declining? Can you share with us some of your wisdom, Harmon?
And, much like Blizzard, much like much like every other studio out there, like, people don't want to admit it. Until, like, Bethesda literally goes bankrupt, you're going to see people, like, call them the best in the industry.
People really call them that? I mean, I can see it. I mean, from my point of view, I've said that they're just a shitty company that don't really know what the fuck they're doing, or don't know how to make a true proper RPG like Morrowind or New Vegas or any of their original titles, as every new installment to their franchises seem to get less and less more innovative and more casualized. But it seems like they're returning to their roots with Starfield, so I can't really say that until I've played it, but until then, I guess we will have to find out.
At what they do, and that hasn't been true in a long time, since at the very latest Breath of the Wild. But, you know, I would argue to a certain extent that's been a trend that we've been slowly going down since Fallout 3 launched, right? We've seen better open world games. We've seen better RPGs.
Bro, Fallout 3 can suck my ass. New Vegas was a much better role-playing game. I'm sorry, such a hot take from me, oh my god.
We've seen better storylines in games. We've seen your dialogue matter more than in, like, the average Bethesda game, right? We've seen, like, you know, creators just put out better products than what Bethesda can ever make.
Honestly, I can't disagree with him here. Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 were probably the worst Fallout games that we've had to date. They're just stories that have no meaning, no choice, and no substance that allow you to actually change the outcome of the story, only if slightly. This is why New Vegas is always referred to as the best third-person Fallout, as it does everything a RPG should. And you're goddamn right the modding community fixes all their problems. We are hoping to see a change where Starfield would be the first game that we don't have the fix.
But the only reason anybody, like, cares about Bethesda at all, like, oh man, remember when Skyrim first came out and we were all laughing about the arrow and knees, the arrow in the knee joke? Like, remember, like, how we played Skyrim and then we started walking in all directions, like, marveling at this vast open world?
Yeah, because not many people at the time ever got to play an RPG that allowed them to do that. Skyrim was really the first one to really put that in a lot of people's hands. It was seen as more of a very niche, in my eyes, type of thing. It wasn't like, you know, everyone played it, but it was most certainly the first, like, medieval RPG, or medieval fantasy RPG that I ever played. But looking back on it now, as someone that has grown up and looked at his taste of games change, I would say that Skyrim is a very beginner-level RPG, and has the bare minimum to be called an RPG.
World and never discovered the plot because nobody cares about the plot in Skyrim. Like, you know, that is the Skyrim experience. Like, it sells itself.
Fuck Harmon, you're on a roll for being really agreeable. God damn, its plot was ass. Honestly, it's not even that intimidating, bro. Alduin can take his time eating the world all he wants. I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna go fuck with mods, and then I'll eventually be back on a new game. But there is something to be said. They managed to make a world where you did not want to complete the game and get over and done with it. I remember my very first playthrough being a very long playthrough. I remember on the 360 where it would take upwards of like 15 minutes just to load into the game. That is how much shit I just continued to do. That is how much stuff it had to catch up on every time I wanted to load. It was insane. And creating a game like that is extremely hard. So that is it. There's nothing else to really talk about after this. He just rambles on for a little bit longer about, like, how the game's generic, blah blah blah. You know, very stupid shit that doesn't really make any sense. That is it. I'm sorry for the extra day delay. It's, my bad. I kinda wanted to put 2 videos into one, but at the end of it, hope you boys will enjoy it. Take care. Bye bye.